thank you again, seriously, for coming out. I do want to, Dr. O'Donovan did mention about our social media hashtags and Twitter handles and stuff. The website is up there as well. You can find the blog as well on there, as well as the Facebook page. I am an avid Twitterer, so I need for you to tweet. Get your phones out, get the tweeting. Memphis Massacre 1866, hashtag Memphis Massacre 1866. I really would like for you to tweet also, if you can, Black Truth Matters, hashtag Black Truth Matters. That's something that, for my own personal thing that I'm trying to get out. We are at Memphis Massacre, so if you want to hit us up with your tweet, that's fine. And then that's my own Twitter handle, A.E. Johnson, PhD. Hit me up, follow me, I'll follow you back. And and also take some pictures as well too, because you know, I put on one of my best suits out of the dirty clothes today, and so I want to show that I'm looking all right today. So do that and get those up on Facebook and on Twitter as well. I am also on Facebook, so you can just find me as Andre Johnson, and you can send a friend request and I will respond on today. I want to thank the Office of Multicultural Affairs and the Memories of a Massacre Memphis in 1866 project for allowing me an opportunity to share with you on today. They asked me the topic this month, since we are celebrating and commemorating Black History Month. They wanted to focus a little bit on Black Lives Matter. I say I know just a little bit about that. Actually doing research now and participating and hopefully doing a big project with Dr. Egger here. And we are looking at the rhetorical uses of Black Lives Matter and all of the competing Lives Matter. That's going to be something very, very, very exciting. So I want to talk a little bit though about Black truth. So the title of this talk, as you can see, does Black truth matter? Black lives and the disregard and recovery of Black truth. On Thursday, December the 10th, 2015, a jury found former police officer Daniel Holtzclaw guilty of multiple counts of rape. And let me just add, I put on Facebook earlier today, I'm just going to issue a trigger warning here. I'm going to talk about rape and some physical abuse, so forewarned. First and second degree, as well as sexual battery, procured lewd exhibition, and forcible oral sodomy. Except for Roland Martin of News One and a faithful cadre of folks on Twitter and other social media outlets providing us updates, this case where 13 women came forward to testify against this man went largely unnoticed. On an episode of the Melissa Harris Perry Show, commentator Joy Reid acknowledged the media's disregard in this case. It just did not seem important to cover the story of a police officer who in fact was a serial rapist in a time when people all on Twitter were connecting this to the Black Lives Matter movement. After the trial, the testimony of the 13 was made public. One woman shared how Holtzclaw sexually assaulted her while she was in the hospital. She also shared how he would repeatedly come back to do more of the same. Another asked after her rape by Holtzclaw, what kind of police do you call on the police? Another woman reported that Holtzclaw raped her in a vacant lot across from a Family Dollar. She testified. After he looked into my car, he told me to pull my pants down. And at this time, I was thinking he was going to search me, but I wondered why he didn't call for a woman police officer, a backup to help him search me to see if I had anything on me. Because I know that police officers can search you, but I didn't think he had a right to search me. He was an officer, and I was scared, and I know that he could hurt me. So I did what he said. Holtzclaw then raped her, the testimony goes on, for 5 or 10 minutes. He let her go, and she went to her brother's house. What was remarkable about these 13 women was their testimonies all sounded familiar. They all sounded similar. Over and over, investigators heard the same testimony, different women, different ages, different times, and in different places. They all pointed to one thing, that Daniel Holtzclaw was a serial rapist, and that these stories, this testimony, this black truth deserved to be heard, believed, and finally acted upon. However, for those following the case, you know that this almost did not happen. Because during the trial, the prosecution argued that Holtzclaw selected his, quote, victims based on their inherent believability, or not so relevant believability. In short, these women that Holtzclaw raped were women that society tended not to believe anyway. Indeed, before this case gained any traction, several of these women, and some not part of the 13, attempted to tell officials about their dealings with Holtzclaw. They simply were not believed. It wasn't until Miss Janie Liggins, a 57-year-old grandmother of 12, testified against Holtzclaw, that officials began a serious investigation. After the sentencing of Holtzclaw, Miss Janie Liggins, in an interview with CNN, shared her ordeal after Holtzclaw stopped her from swerving in the street, which Liggins said wasn't the case at all anyway. He put a flashlight in my chest, on my chest. He told me to pull my pants down to my knees. I did that, but real quick, I pulled them back up again. He pulled out his flashlight, shined it on my privates. I said, "Sir, you should not do this." He said, "Get back into the vehicle." I did what he said. I began to get very, very scared. I thought he was going to kill me because I had seen his face and could tell on him he was an officer and had to know that he should not have done this. That's when Holtzclaw ordered her to perform oral sex, and her mind racing and tears gushing from the then 57-year-old eyes. Finally, after letting her go, she decided right then and there, if he didn't kill me, I was going to tell on him. And tell on him she did. After the verdict, many celebrated Mrs. Liggins for coming forward and testifying. However, one of the major frames used in this celebration, I contend, was problematic, to say the least. Prosecutors argued that in essence, Holtzclaw picked the wrong woman to rape that day. As Assistant DA Lori McConnell argued, he didn't go after doctors, lawyers, housewives, and school teachers in a white suburb. Holtzclaw targeted and preyed on women he thought no one would believe, women who didn't have the power to push an investigation and to demand his arrest. Who would believe these women? Who will care? Was Holtzclaw's attitude. Even Liggins herself and her attorney, Benjamin Crump, echoed these same sentiments when they declared he just picked the wrong lady to stop that night. Problem, though, with these statements and this belief is that it removes the act of rape as the problem and places it on selection. If only Holtzclaw would have selected better. His mistake was not raping women. You just on the wrong night raped the wrong one. One that did not have a record, the one that wasn't a drug abuser, the one that wasn't a sex worker, someone who was not down on her luck. She was a respectable woman and she had a support system in place. You would have just stuck to those other type of women, Holtzclaw. Everything would have been all right. This type of framing and construction of the perfect victim trope also exposes something else. Apparently, there are certain people who get serious attention when they do report an incident. When the DA said that Holtzclaw did not go after doctors, lawyers, and housewives and school teachers in a white suburb, she also said indirectly that if he had, this would have been taken care of a long time ago.
Yep, exactly.
who you are, who you know, where you live, what do you do, are still important markers apparently when dealing with the criminal justice system. Moreover, by the DA also mentioning school teachers in a white suburb, she also exposes a system where presumably white folks get the benefit of the doubt. White folks get sympathy and empathy, understanding, and the assumption of truth. She too then rhetorically enforced what many already knew. Only Holtzclaw would have stayed in his lane and kept doing what he had been doing to those other type of women. You know, the ones that came before Mrs. Liggins. If he would have just done that, the ones no one would believe, including, by the way, respectable black folk who still have a blame the victim mentality. That's another lecture. Then everything would have been all right. I believe we must reject this line of thinking, because the problem with Holtzclaw is that he didn't rape the wrong woman. The problem was that he raped women.
Right, yes.
And in this case, black women, who had their own testimonies, their own black truth that they attempted to share. However, the reason why he could believe that if he just kept on picking and raping the right woman speaks to a much larger issue, one that all black liberation movements seek at its core to address. While we will all agree that state-sponsored violence against black bodies is egregious and wrong, while we will all agree that what Holtzclaw did was wrong, while we will all agree that changes need to take place and need to be made, while we will all agree on these things, we must also ask the tough question of how we keep this momentum alive. What is our role in it? In short, Holtzclaw believed that no one would believe these other women, and in many instances, truth be told, Black History Month, we don't believe them either. In other words, Holtzclaw also believed that no one will come to the defense of some drug addict, some sex worker, some non-respectable woman, some woman who maybe did not belong to Greater First Baptist, Pentecostal, African, Methodist, Episcopal, Full Gospel Christian Worship Center. Number two, church folk get that. Surely this type of woman would not have the nerve or the temerity to come to a police station and file a report on one of Oklahoma City's finest. So he just embedded himself into the much larger narrative that if victims are not perfect, if they did not perform the perfect victim trope, I can just find just a little bit of inconsistencies in their histories. Then folks simply would not care. But then entered Black Lives Matter. The movement birthed after the Zimmerman verdict of not guilty. That's right, Zimmerman verdict, not Trayvon Martin verdict. Zimmerman's verdict of not guilty aims at affirming all black lives, period. No matter the condition or position, no matter one's situation or infatuation, Black Lives Matter. Started by Lisa Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Oprah Tometi, BLM positions itself as what the founders called an ideological and political intervention in a world